I'm super excited. Welcome to this a little video on my 5-second trick to help you get more done by doing less. And stay till the end because I'm going to give you this 5-second trick to basically rewire your brain so that you can stay more focused and stop procrastinating and actually connect into the magic of your zone of genius so you can actually get things done. So let's get started. So here's the thing, people are always asking me, how do you get so much done? You work out, you prepare healthy meals, you spend time with your family, you get to vacation, you work on all of these different time zones, you can watch reality TV, you read books. How the hell do you do it? And I want you to know that this system that I've been using, I have been using it way before I was even an empty nester and I didn't have just my husband to take care of, right? And so this system that we're going to talk about today works especially if you are a single mom, a busy mom of kids who has a partner, if you are an empty nester, if you're retired, if you're single. This system will work for you if you work the system. So, with that, I'm going to be looking at my notes. So I apologize if I look down every now and again. So I want to just let you know. So how do I get all of this done? The first thing is I want you to know that most of the time I'm not working 40 hours or more a week. Most of the time I'm working about 4 days a week. And if I look at my actual work time, it's probably about 4 to 5 hours a week because during my work day, I am obviously eating lunch. I usually exercise during that time. I'm having a morning coffee. And depending upon if I have visitors or what else is going on in my life, I am making sure that I live my life and that my work and those things that are not a priority at that time, I work my life around my business, right? So wherever you are in your business or your career, this is really the key to freedom is having the mindset where you're going to live your life and make work fit into it rather than live your life around your work. Take a look at your calendar right now. Just take a moment and go look for next week or today or tomorrow. Your calendar right now reflects the priority and the energy that you have in your life. And so if you don't have a partner, or if you're not working out, or if you're not having time for fun and play, your calendar is telling you the truth about what your life really is. And if you're really honest, it probably has looked that way for a long time. And even because I hear this all the time, especially when I'm messaging people and connecting with people over long periods of time and checking in, they're like, oh, I'm just getting through this season. I'm just getting through this summer. I'm just traveling. I'm just packing and moving. I'm just having a project at work. This is your life. So we want to start off with this place of being radically honest and not from a place of beating ourselves up, but from a place of I want to reveal, I want to be aware because what I can look at, I can change. So, that being said, let's start with this. So, the first thing is that most people don't have business problems or career problems. Um, that problem is just a reflection of a problem that is a life problem. So if you feel like you are not focused at work or you are not getting that promotion or you are not able to be present in activities that you are doing, if you feel like you have no time, um, it's not really a problem that is inside of those circumstances. It's a problem in the way that you are doing your life. So I want you to understand that so that you can look and see that it is not the circumstance, it is your approach to the circumstance that is causing that big problem. So let's start with the big problem. The big problem is this. Um, and here's how we start this is that everyone is talking about time management. What I want you to understand is that time can't be managed. Right? It doesn't need to be managed. And let that one sink in. What needs to be managed is how we happen to time. We feel like time is happening to us. The paradigm shift is how am I going to happen to time? And so, what really needs to be managed in all of this, as we kind of reverse engineer it, I don't have a business problem. I don't have a time problem. Maybe I have a money problem. But the real problem is, right, that I have a life problem. And then underneath that is the problem isn't time. The problem is that I have to manage my mind. So I want you to free yourself from this old story that the problem is time. The problem that we want to work on and start to unravel and unwind here is, how are you happening to time? So here are 7 mistakes that you're making about time. And I want you to understand that there have been times in my life where I have 100% felt overwhelmed, burned out, exhausted, right? I remember even back in the day when I was single, I was working 3 jobs, part-time jobs. I was going to graduate school, and I had 3 kids, and I had to commute to school. This was long before there was virtual school, right? And I remember having those moments of thinking, I can't do this. It's too much, right? But what I want you to understand is that making this one shift about, I am the creator in my life and how I respond and create to the situations is the way in which I use my power and my brain and my determination. And I'm honest with myself and I'm really being who I am in the world. Then I'm able to actually kind of flow and glide with time to create the kind of life that I want to create, which is what I ended up doing, right? I went to graduate school, I got my degree, I became a teacher, I left teaching, and I decided to just start my business, right? And that was 14 years ago. And so these mistakes are the mistakes that I see my clients making and that I used to make that are going to change everything for you. So, the first thing is, let's talk about, well, let me go over the 7. So, it's your beliefs about time, it's that you have a lack of clarity, right? So you don't know what is essential, what is a priority, what is urgent. So you're overwhelmed by your list. And I was just speaking to a group of professionals the other day. We were talking about time management, and there was a gentleman on the call, and he was like, "Well, everything is important. Everything is urgent. There's nothing that I need to do everything on my list." And I was like, If I was working with you individually, we'd be talking about that one, right?" So, this lack of clarity. Now, I want you to make sure you stay to this video to the end, because at the end, I'm going to give you my 5-second rule, which will change everything in your brain to get you started. And we're going to end this video by actually getting into action around some of those things that you feel overwhelmed with. So, make sure you stay with me to the end. And the reason that I'm going to give you that at the end is not to get you to like stay to the end, so to speak, right? But because this information is going to build on itself. And if I just give you the tactic without doing the mindset adjustment as we go, it kind of won't work, right? So remember, you're not learning time management here. You're learning how to manage your mind. So we've got beliefs about time, a lack of clarity, a lack of awareness about how you are spending your time. One of the key principles that I teach when I work with clients is this idea about radical self honesty. And so we want to really look at our time and have awareness about how we're using our time, and the fact that we are absolutely making choices. And do we want to make different and better choices? And how can we understand what is a different and better choice? You don't have a system. You need to have an entire system that allows you not only to manage your time, but use time in execution of designing the kind of life that you want your life to look at, right? It is, again, not about time management, it's about managing your mind. And so the approach needs to be, I'm not just having a time management system, I'm looking at, how do I want to live my life? How do I want to approach my life? How do I want to experience times in my life? And I need to do this by having an actual plan about what I want my life to look like, feel like, how I want to feel when I wake up every day. And that is the system. right? So the system isn't necessarily just a new planner or using the Pomodoro to set your timer and try and get work done for 30 minutes. We're talking about a bigger picture thing because remember, we're going to focus on how we happen to time, not how time happens to us. The other piece of this is people don't plan spaciousness. And when we don't have spaciousness, then we get frenetic, we get back to back, we get behind. That creates cortisol and adrenaline in our body. Lose our ability to really have access to our prefrontal cortex, which is the executive function. It's our adult self, it's our problem solving brain. So when we get in those reactive default situations, as a result of a lack of spaciousness, we're not able to use time effectively because what it takes for our body and our systems to operate with all of those negative catabolic hormones racing through our body, it takes everything that we do, it takes longer. Okay. So you don't have spaciousness. And then finally, you don't have accountability. And we're going to talk about that too. And it's not only accountability with someone else, but usually there's self accountability. Okay. So let's dive into these. So the first thing is, what are your beliefs about time? Well, so first of all, look at the language around time. A lot of people are like, I'm slammed. I'm so busy. I've got a million things going on. It's crazy. It's insane. Okay. So I believe that the words that you use are actually really, really indicative of what's going on in your body and what's going on in your subconscious. And so when we are putting that out there, is that the way you want to describe your life? Think about it this way. Are those the words you want on your tombstone? She was so busy. Jennifer, she was slammed. Elaine, her life was crazy. So again, your calendar is a reflection of your life. How you speak about time is a reflection of how you feel and live in your life. And again, if you struggle with extra weight, anxiety, worry, you don't sleep well, all of these unconscious beliefs around time are 100% impacting everything that you do. So, there's a lot of beliefs about time. And the number one thing we ultimately most feel, and you're doing this, I'm sure, is that you believe you are a victim to time. Right. But what I want you to understand, and this is the truth as you look at changing your mindset, is you are making choices in every single moment about how you want to use your time. Right. And you have beliefs around what you should and should not be doing with your time. And when you are out of integrity with those shoulds, whether they're healthy shoulds or not, again, cortisol, adrenaline, lack of productivity, too much going on, overwhelm, burnout, don't even use the time you have efficiently. The other thing is, if you tell yourself, I'm so busy, it's crazy, I'm insane, like I'm slammed, you can literally feel the vibration in your body of all of that cortisol and adrenaline. And when you sit down, as I said, to do those tasks and your body and your brain are buzzing, it's going to take you way longer to do that task rather than if you are relaxed, if you have a healthy relationship with time, if you feel as if you have plenty of time, right? So, how we connect to our magic, our zone of genius, our insights, whatever we need to do in those tasks is impacted negatively by our beliefs about time. So when you start to look at how am I going to change my mindset around how I happen to time, the first thing you want to start looking at is what are your beliefs? What are the words you say? How does it feel in your body? And is this what you really want your life to feel like? Because again, if we go big picture, every day is the cumulative picture of your life, one day at a time. And for most of you, it's not just a season, it becomes a habit and it becomes ultimately years. Okay, so number two, you have to get clarity, right? So if you believe everything on your list is urgent, this is the headline for you, you are not planning well. Again, big picture, we want to have a whole system, an approach to designing our life. And we want to be intentional, we want to be specific, and we want to be focused. So if we wake up and we look at our calendar and we're back to back meetings and we have 20 projects to do, and our garage is filled with clutter, and our closet has still got clothes in it from 5 years ago, and we haven't unpacked from a move 3 years ago, right? Everything is urgent. I want you to know that you're not planning well. Clarity is super, super powerful. What you want to do is this, and clients come to me all the time and they're like, I have all this stuff. I don't know what is most important. I don't know how to prioritize. And what I want you to understand is that when you spend your time worrying about all the things you have to do, and you don't know what is a priority, and you don't know how to make things in your life not urgent as the status quo, all of that, right? You're wasting your time by worrying and thinking and being unclear about what it is that is actually the most important. So, what I recommend that you do is that you actually create like a brain dump of everything that you have on your list. And if you don't have that yet, start it. Don't be afraid of it. And if you already have it, what I want you to understand is that in this process, you get to start making choices about those things, right? We start to get awareness and we want to make choices. And big picture, we're going to look at that list and we're going to go like, wow, why do I have so many things that are urgent? Or do they feel urgent? Or is that a story that I'm making up? So, the second thing you need to do when you're really looking at getting back in control of your time is you want to have clarity. Now, we want to talk about awareness. So, most of us don't have real awareness. Most of you don't have real awareness about how you're using your time. How are you spending your 24/7 from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep? Now, I want to tell you that I am a living, breathing practicer of this awareness because I'm very conscious and I'm constantly adjusting how I experience time so that I can really achieve all those things that I want to achieve. And I'm looking at what is adding energy to my life and what is taking away energy to my life. I've really looked at what are shoulds and what are things that really enhance my life and move it forward. I have looked at really identifying what is essential versus what is a nice to have. And as a result of that, doing that on a daily process, right? And really having that awareness, everything changes. So for you at the beginning, we want to have like a blank slate approach. So imagine, and I know this feels crazy because you're looking at your calendar, you're like, I can't clear my calendar. But I want you to imagine if you took all of those tasks and you had a blank slate and you imagine that every hour of your day was $1,000. You had $24,000 to spend, right? How will you spend it? Right? You have $24,000 to spend, right? That's what time is, right? How are you going to use, how are you going to choose what you do with that time? Right. So think about your day yesterday, at the beginning of the day, from the moment you woke up to the moment you went to sleep, right? I want you to think about yesterday as an example, and I want you to write it down. It's a really powerful exercise, especially if you look at realistically how many hours are you scrolling on social media versus if you use your phone or social media for your business, and being honest about that. Um, how much time are you watching TV? How much time are you procrastinating? How much time are you spending drinking? Binging? How much are you spending with people you love, actually being with them? Or are you doing other things when you're with them? Maybe it's talking on the phone. Maybe it's just internet shopping. Maybe it's looking at other things on the internet, right? Researching on Zillow. My husband calls it Zillow porn, right? Just he can spend hours just looking at houses, right? Not that we're even looking to buy a house. So, what I want you to understand is you have to really look at this time as each hour as if it were $1,000 and how you want to spend your time. Because do you really want to spend $3,000 a day scrolling or on the internet? right? If you work 14, 15 hours a day, do you want to spend, more than half of that $24,000 buying time at work, right? So start to really understand that it is a blank slate, that if you're honest, there are more choices than you realize. And how can I start to be empowered and learn to say no and start to delegate tasks when possible? Because one thing that really changed my life was thinking about how I spend that $24,000 is in terms of service delivery, I like to call it, right? If I'm going to spend my $24,000, I want to spend it on things that only I can truly do or that I truly choose to do. Right? Like take today, it's a Sunday for me here or Saturday. And I decided I wanted to spend some time this morning doing this video, but I really wanted to go to the farmer's market. And I'm going to this fun literary thing this afternoon, right? And I was like, well, my husband could go to the farmer's market and get us our weekly stash of veggies and things that we eat. That would be the most time efficient thing to do while I do some work this morning, right? That I wanted to do. But I really decided that I wanted to spend my $24,000, right? I wanted to spend $1,000 of this day at the farmer's market because I love it. I love shopping. I love talking to the vendors, right? So I could have delegated that task, but I chose not to. Right. And so we want to be able to delegate those tasks, and we want to learn how to be able to do that without having guilt. And we want to be able to also look at, is this a leadership problem we have, or we feel like we're the only one that can get things done? Is it a control issue? As you can see, right? Go back to the first slide. This is really the thing that needs to be managed is your mindset, not time. And just in this one little piece, we've talked about so many things that need to be changed that when I work with my clients, this is all of the things that we're doing this. But the first step for you is to really do this exercise for 24 hours and get really honest with how are you actually spending your time? And are you doing things that are essential? Are you doing things that you choose to do? Are you delegating when you don't want to? Are you not delegating because you have a story that you can only do it better? Is it a control piece? Is it really essential? Again, $24,000. Okay. So the next thing is this, is that you want to really have a system, right? Um, so when we have a system, um, we are able to get it out of our mind and we close the loops on that feeling of incompleteness. And the system that I have used, I believe, over the last like 10 years or so plus, has really been my secret to more freedom and more money. And that is really doing the system consistently over time. And this system is getting very clear on designing the life that I want to have, understanding in all the areas of my life what is my ideal situation, not just my settling, but if I could 10x it, like what really is the life that I want to live this year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Really reverse engineering it into what do I need to do this year to get closer to that. And then breaking that up into a quarterly plan, a monthly plan, a weekly plan, and a daily plan. And I know you're saying, oh my God, that's so not spontaneous. I don't like to set goals. I don't believe in goal setting. This has nothing to do with goals. This is really looking at prioritizing what it is that allows me to feel like I have a life that blows my hair back without having to blow up any parts of it by making choices and being intentional, right? By having dreams and ideas, by testing them out, by taking action on it consistently and making that be part of our life, right? That everything that we do is so aligned with who we really are that energetically we are in flow rather than cortisol and adrenaline. And that as we can rely on the structure of that system, and then we pour ourselves, our unique self into the system as it is for you and your unique desires and dreams. Right? So the system isn't to make you feel small. The system isn't to take away your freedom. The system is to actually give you freedom and intention to dream, and then being able to set manageable plans, right? And break it down so that you're not just waking up one day and being like, oh my gosh, life went by and I didn't do anything. But to be able to have that really fabulous sense of creation. And the truth is that one of the things that we know is that a meaningful life comes from feeling like we are creating our life, that we are living our life, that life isn't living us. When we don't have a system, life is living us. So we want to actually have a system that we use. And we're going to talk a little bit about that now. All right. So here we go. So this is just a sample. So I have been using this system for years, and I happen to use a passion planner, but you can use whatever you want. And we're not going to talk now about the annual plan or the quarterly plan, but ultimately I'm taking that plan and I'm breaking it down into what I want my month to look like. Now, here's a little fun thing that I think is interesting because I was doing that assessment like I talked to you about earlier. I realized that I use my planner a lot more at this point in my life because I loved stickers and I was really into scrapbooking, and I just made me feel really, really super creative. And I love to like get out my planner at the month and I don't do this right now, but I did it for many years. This is just a page from that. And so I was like, I'm not using my planner. I'm not using the system. And I thought, oh, I want to make it more fun and more creative. And this is what happened for me, right? And so, what I want you to understand is that I'm planning out the month and I know in advance what the big rocks are. And that allows me to then create around those big rocks. And also for those of you that feel like you travel too much, or you're not at home too much, or you have plans every night, or you feel like you don't have anything to look forward to and you're not traveling at all. When you look at your month and you start to see, this is what it's looking like, we can start to actually, again, intentionally create space to do the things that we want and leave that room for spaciousness. So, you want to take that giant list that you have, right? And you want to start looking, and you can just do it for the month that we're in, and start putting in the rocks and looking at these projects and looking at how am I going to fit them into my month. This is 100% what I did when I've been writing my book this year, is really looking at the monthly plan, the writing blocks. How do I reverse engineer if I need to have this date be my deadline, then what do I need to do every week of the month? Right. So everything happens in this monthly plan. For me, like connecting, having friends, making plans with friends, date nights, all those things are going to go in that monthly plan more often than not so that I can actually see what's going on. When you start planning, and this goes back to what I said before, nothing has to be urgent, right? Because you've transferred all of your things into your calendar and you've allowed enough spaciousness, which goes back to spaciousness as one of the things you need to do, right? So we need to ensure that we do what I call time guarding. And that is the secret to the universe, in my opinion, right? The secret to getting everything done is that you have all of the things that you're going to do, right? And you're going to time block those in your month. And ultimately, I'll show you in your week. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you actually have the time to do those things. And if you're not sure how long they will take, I would recommend that you overestimate so that you're not behind the eight ball, right? So, as part of those rocks that you put in, you want to create the spaciousness, whether it is the free time where I have no plan, whether it's your Fridays off, right? I take Fridays off 90% of the time. I take that time off to work out. I take that time off. I told my team, I really just want some time during the summer in between my workout and like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon so I can go swim, right? So I'm looking at like I'm planning my free time as if it were a doctor's appointment, right? So I'm valuing, remember it's $24,000. I'm saying I'm going to spend $2,000 or $500 on free time, and I'm marking it and blocking it out in my calendar, and I'm guarding it like it was the most important appointment. Like for me, when my hair gets really gray, there's no way I'm missing that appointment with my hair colorist, right? So figure out what your most important thing that you would never miss is, and then you block and you guard that time like your life depends on it. And this, again, is about having boundaries with yourself. It is how you manage your mindset, not how you manage time. Once you get into this spaciousness and you start to be able to have some space around time, you really can see then what you need to assess and adjust. And all of these experiments that you're doing as you manage your mind and then you manage your time are just that, experiments that you get to adjust as you assess every single week and month as you do this system of planning. And then finally, you break it down into a week. So here's just one example of a week from a couple of years ago. And again, I just use a passion planner, but you can use anything. And I like to have, a focus. I like to put those big rocks in there where I'm going to actually work on projects. If you need to have thinking time and you become aware that morning is your best time, there's been moments where I'm like, you know what? The best time for me to do this is actually to get up an hour early and write it in there. I know that I need an hour or so for my morning routine. I put it in there, right? So you want to, again, take your free time, take your priorities, you put those in as rocks, and then you fit those things in around. And then when you have that freedom from knowing that you've got the time planned and nothing is urgent, you can actually get everything done that you need to get done. I just threw this in here because while I have some other books in there, like the Midnight Library, which is one of my favorite books, you could see these are just all of my planners for the last years. And the reason why I wanted to show you this is this. Most of us try to out hustle bad organization. We try to out hustle bad process. We try to out hustle time, right? And what I want to tell you is to stop trying to throw intensity at new things, right? The newest time management system, the newest diet, and start throwing your consistency at the basic things that are involved in creating a life and designing a life of intention, meaning, and fulfillment, because that structure, those basics will give you freedom. And when you do that, you have calm, you have presence, you're able to tap in to your best ideas, to make decisions, to listen to your intuition, and you will perform at every single task better, which means that ultimately you will make more money, lose weight, have better relationships, find your boyfriend, improve your marriage, whatever it is. Finally, if you don't want to do this process because you want to be spontaneous in your life, I'm going to tell you the truth. You're living the default life, and the default life is sloppy. And the sloppy woman doesn't have the life that is up here for you, the life that you envision and imagine and know you're capable of. The day that you create with intention, the day that you respond rather than react, the day that you design rather than default, one step at a time, you become the woman who has the business and the life that's in your mind. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens by believing and knowing that that version of you is inside of you. And it just takes the structure and the process and the system and the commitment. And finally, the accountability to make it happen. So imagine your life where you don't need excuses about why you didn't finish something, why that thing still isn't done, why you haven't started that book, why you haven't spent time working in your business, why you haven't started exercising, why you haven't really connected and made time for the people that you care about, why you haven't played in a long time, whether you haven't gone back to that sport that you really loved. Imagine your life where you don't need excuses, right? If you do this process one day at a time, You get on a new train, a new identity, a new timeline, new momentum for the life where you love your life. It blows your hair back and you have freedom and more money and more joy and more fulfillment, right? And so the way that we're going to get started by doing this choice and possibility is this 5-second hack, this 5-second rule. And I think I got this from Mel Robbins, maybe, or maybe Brene Brown. I can't remember, but it's an amazing one. So I want to share it with you. And it's that when you feel that you want to default back into social media, having that wine, doing that extra thing, you are going to count backwards from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm in a choice point. And every moment, that one is a moment, and every moment gives us an opportunity to decide who we want to be in that moment. And you get to decide to be the person who has the business and the money and the success and the love and the health of that woman that you know is inside of you. And you make a decision in that moment, just for that moment, to take that one new action step towards getting done that task, that thing on your calendar that moves you forward, that gives you that sense of completeness so that your mind and heart can be free. You can get rid of the cortisol and adrenaline. You start to rewire your brain to your new identity. And one 5-second shift at a time, you start to be the person who has the life that you know you want that's inside of your heart. So, last thing I see most women needing is accountability, not only to themselves, but accountability to create that structure and design that plan and then live it. So if you would like help doing that, make sure that you DM me either on Instagram, Marni Battista _ or on Facebook Messenger with hashtag more. I look forward to helping you. And I hope that this did give you some ideas about how you can change your relationship and how you happen to time. Mwah.